Typically when I hear student film, I think of janky.
Pretty cheesy.
Bad sound, bad picture, and bad acting.
Low budget, I think cheesy, I think just poor quality.
You know, unbearable and you can't watch them.
It's a lot of just like low budget stuff.
A TMC student film is unique because it's, number one, it's a production. It's a major production. I mean, you've got professional lighting and sound. You've got students working hand in hand with those industry professionals. I started teaching here in 2002, and I started teaching within the comm department in 2005. I know we always had a film component to the major, so I was excited that we did that. When Prof. Green came in, it was at a real transformative time for the major. There was even some question as to whether or not really from me, but from the students, well, what's the commitment to the film program here on campus? I knew what it was because I knew Matt Green and I knew what he was going to bring. It's gotten bigger. I think we're able to bring all of the students together on one project rather than having a lot of individual projects. And that allows us to be on a set like this where you have something that maybe individually no one could have done, but collectively we can do.
Well, the short films from last year set the stage, because when I saw them, I just like, this is not student level films. This is a whole step above. This is professional quality. When Professor Dixon came and explained to me that they were combining several different departments, it was intriguing to hear what he had in mind.
So last year we did 2 short films that I felt like really raised the bar. We looked at what a lot of different schools were doing, and I think we did some things that people were really impressed with, that students had developed and created. Hopefully we're just kind of building on that momentum. The inspiration for the story came from, the only possible answer I can give is that it was just kind of inspired from the Lord. And it just kind of popped in my head one day to do a piece up on a spaceship where the crew was all gone. One guy wakes up and he has no idea where everybody is, and it's because that one of them was raptured. And I thought, wow, okay, I've never seen that in space. I think that's kind of cool, be kind of unique. And it's completely something different than we've ever done before. And then we get to shoot on a space. I mean, it seemed like it was too cool and it seemed so cinematic. And yet I felt like we could develop the story that as it starts out, people aren't going to be sure what it is. When Riggs first wakes up in the pod and he starts stumbling around, he's like, okay, my crew's gone. Are they dead? Have they been captured? Is it an alien? Is it what's going on here? And yet, as it slowly starts to unravel in the story, you come to find out that it's actually much more powerful than any of that. It's the fact that one of these people was saved and then was taken up.
It's me in this spacecraft walking through the emotions of figuring out what's happening on the earth, and then figuring out what I'm going to do with my relationship with Jesus and whether or not I'm going to go back to earth.
What we're going to try and do is tell maybe a more influential story, but using a genre that's really popular. And maybe we'll attract some people to hear a message that normally wouldn't be interested because of the genre.
What's so great though is that we have so much support from the administration here on campus. They're behind it, so it makes my job a lot easier.
We're basically our own self-run production studio where screenwriting wrote it, directing is directing it, video editing will edit it once it's all shot. And it just kind of unites the college in a way.
It was a big task coming in, and as we went along, just one thing kept getting checked off the list.
Well, I am aboard the Ichthys, which in Greek means fish, so this is the flying fish of some kind. But it is incredible to see the amount of detail and effort that's gone in to create the environment of a spaceship.
This is like last year's production on steroids. We're using a stabilization system, the Ronin, along with my 4K camera. We're getting more into lighting as far as colors and more of a dramatic, almost comic book feel to it.
This is our first time actually going and renting a set. Here at Laurel Canyon Stages, which has been awesome. Basically, it's the last existing spaceship set in Los Angeles. And it's been used in lots of cool projects, and so it's fun for the students to come here and get to work on a real set.
The point of it is to take you to another place, and that place being here, space. And I was thinking of okay, we're gonna have to build a set, we're gonna have to build like how the heck are we gonna do this? But then coming to the set here, I was like, oh, it's already built for us. Like, this is actually pretty sweet.
I think it's fun about sci-fi. It kind of gives you a chance to escape, which is I think why a lot of people go to the movies, is just to escape life.
This thing behind me was my sleep chamber. I got raptured out of this, so that was kind of fun. I woke up this morning and knew I was going to be raptured.
I wasn't expecting the pods to turn out so well. One day, Prof. Green had the idea, and I remember looking at him and just thinking that it wasn't going to work. It's a good idea, but it's not going to work. And on set, you couldn't even tell that they were trash cans.
We left the campus. We have a professional lighting crew, a professional camera crew, and they're trusting this in the hands of students. I just feel like it's a really big honor and also a really big responsibility.
Everything is as I imagined it could be in a real professional movie setting.
I think in this instance, we're bringing a lot to the table. I mean, we've got a lot of equipment and we've got professionally built sets, and I think this project has a lot of promise.
Like writing the script, it was so interesting to try and picture what it would be, especially before we had the set, before we knew what it was. It was like we had to imagine what we were doing and still try and stay true to the story and to the message that we wanted.
The students are absolutely great. I mean, everyone's dedicated, to strive for excellence. I think it's contagious, when you see everybody working this hard to really, bring the best that you can to the screen. I have to say I'm really, really impressed with their dedication and the amount of work that they put into each project that I worked on.
I always enjoy working with professionals because coming in as students, they know that we're trying to learn. They always are very gracious with us, and it's just cool to ask our director of photography, Marcelo, why are you lighting something a certain way? And then he just goes into detail and just explains why he does something.
I'm so proud of watching you all walk around here with specific jobs, knowing what you're supposed to do, having one of you boss the actors around. I think that is really funny. And I just think that this is a tremendous experience.
It's a bit intimidating when you're telling grown men to do certain things and this is what you're expecting from it, especially when they're professionals and they have experience. And so if they give you input, you kind of start second guessing yourself, oh, was mine good enough kind of thing. But it's kind of good just to balance both out and just pick the best one.
We've been able to have, this really cool set. It makes you feel like, man, I'm in the big leagues or whatever, and there's a lot riding on it. I've even had some interaction with some of the students where they're saying, I'm nervous, I'm scared, I want to get this right, I'm excited for what this could be, but you get overwhelmed, especially when you get on the set, and especially when you get into that one first shot scene day when the cameras are rolling.
I'm very impressed with this group of kids, this group of students. You can tell they're being taught by the right people. I did work on a student film for the LA Film Studies Center. I will say that this group is more knowledgeable than the group that I worked with.
When you bring in the college student dynamic, what that does is you've got people who are learning, and so you have to be more patient. It's easy to walk into a situation when you have been around it a lot and just assume that somebody else knows something, and you can't do that. You have to go and you have to take time to make sure that you explain things. That's why they're here. They're at the college, not only to have fun and make a cool project, but to learn.
As he's going through everything, we turn that into a move where we're over the shoulder doing this thing here, right?
We really try and keep this program kind of like a mentorship, where we come alongside and they get to work with other professionals and build that rapport, build connections within the business. Hopefully that translates into work in the future.
You just take it at how can I, as a professional and former professional, come alongside and help teach and get this part of the industry ingrained in the people I'm working with.
We can become jaded and forget the purpose of why we got into this business to begin with. The creativity, the energy, that atmosphere is just infectious, and so it's hard to not be around the students and not be excited to be on a set again. And specifically with the master's students, there's obviously a whole nother element in terms of they have a greater purpose here on Earth. It's not just to make movies, it's to spread the gospel, and so when you intertwine that on set, it's really cool.
Slowly but surely, it's all been working out really well, and it's all just a testament to the Lord and what He's been able to do with the project.
This is a crazy, intense process, because we're basically taking what should take 6 months and we're cramming it down into basically 2 months. And that's, you know, pre-production, writing the script, all the way to post and completion of the project. And so the students have to bring it. They have to, there's no choice. If they don't bring it, it doesn't get done. And so the script was written, I think, in 2 weeks. Pre-production was maybe 3 weeks. And we're shooting in a day, and then we're posting the whole film in basically right around 4 weeks, which is pretty nuts. And matter of fact, I have people all the time telling me, do you know how crazy this is? And I say, yes, I do. And yet we're, you know, somehow, Lord willing, we're gonna get it done.
7A, take 4.
I make my living in a classroom, okay? But I understand that a classroom, at least for the things that we're teaching, can only do so much. There's a point at which you need to get out of the way as a teacher and say, okay, you guys, now you got to do it.
We're trying to be excellent in everything that we do. And so in the projects, in the films, the editing, the sound design, mixing, everything, we're trying to be excellent.
I would say this, my advice to Christians that want to be involved in filmmaking is the Lord has to be #1. And whatever realm of filmmaking you might decide to go into, that your relationship with the Lord is paramount.
I guess I've learned that this whole filmmaking process and anything worth doing is hard work, and it's a process. Like, this started with an idea in a person's head, and it ended up as a rough draft of the script, and then it ended up as like 5 other drafts of the script, and then that ended up checking out a set.
Hopefully it's a beginning to something very special, and, you know, opening of an opportunity of a lifetime, because it's pretty special to be able to work in this kind of environment, you know, especially when the master's college isn't USC or UCLA. I would put this up against any of those film schools.
I'm hoping that prospective students and families will notice the quality of the work and be able to say, that's where I want to study, that's where I want to prepare for the industry.
I hope that the college is not only able to see this and go, awesome, great, we have this really well-produced film, but we also have something that has a message that maybe we can use. I also hope, too, that the students, and I hope that my past students who have directed films, take their films and use them in festivals.
My dreams and goals for the comm department are for the lid just to blow off of it, honestly. I see us on a trajectory like this right now, and I would be so pleased if we stayed on that trajectory. That would be fantastic.
I want us to be the #1 department of the college in terms of just producing students who are graduating with their degree and then getting to actually go in the workplace and use that degree. Students who are equipped to go in the industry and be a testimony for Christ. That doesn't mean that they have to go make faith films, which there's nothing wrong with that. I've done that. But you can go work on a secular project and still be just as big of an example and testimony for Christ. And that's important. Like any other business where we need believers and we need people who can tell stories and create creative content that has redemptive value.